All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the InstructLab weekly community meeting for November 19th. Before we start, here are the usual housekeeping reminders. All the meetings are governed by our InstructLab Community Code of Conduct, and the meetings are recorded, as mentioned, and it will be posted to the InstructLab YouTube channel. If you prefer not to be on camera, please feel free to join with the camera off, or you can also dial in via phone. And to ask questions, please raise your hand if you are using Google Meet. If you're on the phone, you can interrupt at appropriate times and feel free to speak up. And if you prefer not to speak, well, it's only for Google Meet. You can use the chat function in Google for asking questions and joining in the discussions. And we'll publish the chat transcripts after the meeting. At the end of each week's agenda, there's also an attendee list. Feel free to add your names to that. It's optional, it's up to you, but we're happy to see who are attending our meetings. All right, let's get started. We do have a few more agenda items in the last few minutes, so always happy to see that. The first big news, I guess, is we have a new working group for documentation, and we're meeting every second Wednesday, starting with this Wednesday, November 20th, which is actually tomorrow. So 12 Eastern, 11 Central, and 17 or 5 p.m. UTC time. So you can take a look or add stuff to the meeting notes if you have anything you want to start discussing already. This linked here. And if you want to join, if you're subscribed to the InstructLab calendar, you'll see that on the calendar. If not, feel free to add it to your own calendar. Or if you can also ping me to directly add you to the meeting invite. Any questions or comments about this before we go on? If not, we'll see you tomorrow for the first meeting. And I think we'll do the usual. We'll record the meetings and share them. If you're unable to attend, you can also follow along. Cool. Okay, the next couple of items are just new articles or new content on InstructLab. This first one is a video by Matthew Berman. It talks about the IBM Granite family of models, and also has a mention, I think it's like a 12-minute video, and it has a mention about InstructLab in the last 3 or 4 minutes or so. So feel free to take a look. Following that, we have 2 articles on Dockling, the document processing tool that helps to get the content from different document types into models such as InstructLab to help with the fine-tuning to get the content ready for that. So one is by IBM Research and the other one is on the Red Hat blog. Feel free to check out those 2 blog articles. And speaking of blog, would somebody like to talk about the InstructLab blog?
Yeah, sure. I added this to the agenda. We've had this domain for a little while now, but we're just actively starting to use it. So JDeep and I have published 2 blogs here. The first one is generally like how to use InstructLab given the new releases, because I know a lot changes over time. So a lot of people just kind of wanted to, see how to use it from start to finish. So that's that first one. Second one is more of an architecture overview about InstructLab. So both of those are really helpful reads for people trying to get involved in the project. Generally speaking, we're going to start using that blog.instructlab.ai for the dev team of InstructLab to publish blogs. That's the main place that the people who develop InstructLab are going to be posting things. So keep your eyes out for stuff being posted there pretty regularly, honestly. So yeah, just kind of wanted to call that out.
Thanks for doing that. And please, I know you're doing that already. Please also share in the Slack channel, community channel on Slack. so that everybody can see that as well. Cool. Is it then also open, maybe not right now, but in the future, to other community members to write? And is there a process for that?
Yeah, that's the plan, is as we kind of ramp things up, make it more of an open process. And this is a great place to do it, just because it's already linked to the instruct-lab.ai website, and it's using WordPress, so it's a pretty simple interface. But yeah.
Cool. Good to hear. Thank you. All right. We have a InstructLab LLM guide. Kelly, is this you or?
I added that. So I just wanted to highlight that in the InstructLab repo, I made like a very general sort of like LLM guide that we use for some of like the default student models and the teacher models. So it just goes through all of the like standard models that we use in the InstructLab project and kind of shows like the format, shows what they do, like the description, how to get it, and the purpose, and the format as well. So I think that would just like help with some informative stuff. But I just wanted to highlight that as well.
That looks really useful. So thank you for that. Any questions or comments for Kelly?
Thanks for doing that, Kelly. I'll definitely check it out.
Indeed. Cool. All right. So we have some InstructLab interactive labs. Is this Cedric? Is that you? Did you put this in?
Yeah. Hey guys. So Cedric here, and what we're trying to do is essentially take some of the content that we have for demos on InstructLab and put them up here so that anyone on their web browser essentially has access to this realm machine. And sorry about that. And can just try out InstructLab for free. So that's in progress, probably in the next 2 weeks.
Great to hear. Thanks for sharing that. If there's any questions about it, where's the best place to, I guess you're on the InstructLab Slack instance, so there'll be a place people can find you to ask questions, correct?
Yeah, and one of the things is we're still building out demos. So if anyone has stuff they want to contribute into one of these labs, I'll make like a post and feel free to comment, so we can kind of collect the different material that people have and let people try it out for free.
Cool. Sounds great. So glad to see so many things happening around InstructLab. Any questions or comments for Cedric?
Is this going to affect the taxonomy at all? Like, is this going to generate any YAMLs, or is it just, like a demo thing that's kind of fake?
Probably the latter, just because it'll already be pre-set up and populated for everyone who tries it. So it's essentially just like an image with everything pre-downloaded. So it won't be like contributing upstream. It'll just be, hey, you've got this taxonomy, do the fine tuning and try it out with an application.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Would it be similar to what we have been using on demo.redhat?
Yep, exactly. Demo.redhat, so converting those two and then also creating more new ones, like maybe the Mudang one, or maybe one with like RAG as a complement. Those types of examples. But even partners or some customers of Red Hat can't access those labs, and even though everything's on GitHub, right, having the ability to provision those machines is kind of restricted still. So we want to open that up, and it's really cheap as well. It's like very affordable to have these machines up and running. So
good to know.
Yeah.
So it will be something that, for example, if we have a workshop at some event with like 30 people, we can actually make use of that.
That's the goal.
Okay.
Yeah, be able to put a QR code up on a presentation and be like, hey, if you want to try it out, Here's the link. You can do this at home or anytime. It's on demand.
Sounds great.
Yay!
Yay. All right. We have exhausted our agenda items, but I think I saw an email about a new release. Would somebody would like to comment on that, or you want to save it for the CLI meeting? The 0.21 release. I don't think it has been talked about.
Oh yeah, I can speak about it.
Trending.
I can speak about it kind of
Yeah.
quickly. So 0.21 we released late on Friday. In that release, there's a lot of things actually. There's system profiles, which we've kind of talked about, and I think people are kind of familiar with them now. I can pull up the notes here just to kind of remind myself. I know that there's also a lot of SDG related features. One of them is context-aware document chunking, so people can actually in their Q&A YAMLs point directly to a PDF now, which is a great change rather than having markdown files. It makes the workflow a lot simpler for people. We also added support for the Granite 3 architecture. So we still have some work in flight that's in the main branch to be able to directly chat with those models. But InstructLab should be able to directly interact with them if you have one on your system. There's also a lot of things done to make both iLab data generate and iLab model train run much quicker and on smaller hardware footprints. So the full training pipeline, which is what I recommend everyone should be using rather than simple, runs on 16 gigabyte machines now. It really works better on 32 gigabyte machines, but it will work now on a 16 gig machine. You might have to set the special PyTorch environment variable, but it will work on those machines. And iLab Data Generate now has a maxnum tokens flag, which is really important because as I'm sure you all know, the full pipeline can take a very, very long time on a laptop. So using maxnum tokens, specifically with knowledge SDG runs, will kind of cut that time into, I don't know, half-ish. So if, say, the default value for maxnum tokens is 4096, and it applies to the specific block of the full pipeline that generates the actual knowledge. And if you set that to something like 512, it basically limits the length, which basically limits the amount of time each completion request takes in that block. So you'll see either less knowledge generated or the same amount of knowledge, but shorter responses in a quicker amount of time. So that's a great thing to use if you're on a laptop and you don't want to sit around for hours or days waiting for a huge document to process. Yeah, we also did some model default switches. So we switched to Granite as the default serve and chat model instead of Marlinite. Granite 7B, that is. Yeah, that's kind of the main things. I don't know if Khalid, do you wanted to add anything? I see your hand up.
Thank you. Well, I'll do it. Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit about the context-aware chunking feature. So this is one of the big things that we shipped out that we're working on. Basically, so this adds support for PDF documents now. So you can, like Charlie mentioned, you can link to a PDF document in your Q&A instead of necessarily having a markdown. And then also the context-aware chunking methodology does also, it produces higher quality generated data as well. Yeah, Justin, I can provide a link as well. But yeah, so essentially we read the documents and we split it into chunks. We used to do this before, but now this context-aware chunking provides better chunks that lead to higher quality generated data. So yeah, that's the TLDR about it.
Yes, Alina.
Yeah, I also wanted to call out that there's been a new flag added to iLab model chat. So you can now set the temperature when you're chatting with the model. It does have a default of 1. So, but yeah, you can set that to whatever you want going forward. And the lower number you have, the more deterministic responses you'll get from the model.
Cool. And JDeep has also included a link for Justin in the chat for those of you who are wondering. And thanks to Charlie, Khaled, and Alina. Is there anything else to comment on this? Yeah, great job. And Cedric also mentioned that it would be nice to have a demo about this PDF capability. So good stuff.
Yeah, generally speaking, we recommend that anyone who isn't on 0.21 start using 0.21. There should be no risk included in using these newer versions. We've noticed that folks seem to be sticking with the lower versions, but there are a lot of quirks with 0.19 releases, 0.18 releases. 0.20 and 21 are both very stable, so we recommend upgrading to those if possible.
All right. Thank you.
What's our current release support statement? We do one back?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we've been saying that. We did add a warning to 0.17. Nathan released a 17.2
Okay.
that basically warns people that this is the last release that supported 3.9 Python or 3.12. So that's a dangerous release, that one specifically, because it gets installed automatically if you have either of those Python versions.
Certainly.
But I think generally speaking, like 20 is still relatively supported. So yeah, one back. We're working on kind of, making our backwards compatibility story something that actually exists, because right now it kind of doesn't. We've had to make a lot of changes to the config and the way things work for the downstream product, but we're kind of trying to force stability going forward. So we're gonna be working on some sort of backwards compatibility story in the upcoming releases.
No, that's great. But I was actually thinking of the opposite, though. Like a lot of projects, the way people move forward is because they know that we're dropping support for the one they're using, and they need to move to the next long-term support one. But I guess that doesn't apply a whole lot here. We're just keep chugging along, and they'll follow what they want. Yeah.
I think generally speaking, until we get to a 1.0, which is a whole conversation we have to have,
Yep.
It's expected that we're going to break things between these sort of releases because they're just Y streams. But there is some level of like, hey, we don't want to completely reinvent the wheel every time we cut a release because we understand it's frustrating for people. So we're trying to stabilize a little bit. But yeah, right, that like there shouldn't be a huge expectation between each one, but we're trying to kind of figure out some middle ground there.
Yes. And so in the future, when we try to get people to stop just staying on the old release, the way you get them off 1.x is you introduce 3.x, and and you say we're dropping support for that, and they will care.
Yeah.
But,
I think honestly, the way that we did it with 17.2, where we put a little warning message in there, is probably something that we might have to do for other releases, like sort of like a deprecation notice, because otherwise, people why people are staying on older versions, because with more mature software, it's realistic that you should be able to stay on a 19 if the most recent version is 21. But we're kind of a fast-paced project, which I think takes some getting used to for the users. So it's something that we'll have to kind of convey more clearly as we roll out releases.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, we're not even at 1 dot yet, right? So it's a lot of different developments and changes happening right now. I think when we have a stable release, then we can kind of say, what kind of support we have for previous releases. I think many upstream projects, if you do like a one, like the -1 support, I think it's already very good. Like if you're on 3.x, you support 2.x as maintenance release, but you don't support 1.x anymore. So, but we're not even there yet. So I think it's a conversation that needs to be had at some point. Cool. Okay. Anything else about the releases? If not, actually, I just thought of something. Dominic, are you still online? Was there anything during KubeCon that you think it's worth mentioning, whether it's about InstructLab or in general? You shared a link. Let's see. Sorry. Okay. Yes, there's a great Cube interview. Cube as in CUB, not KUBE, from KubeCon that I think mentions InstructLab. So thanks for that. Any other comments if you'd like to share? If not, that's okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I have a comment.
Okay.
I don't know if Kara is on the call. No, I don't see her. So we had the tech exchange like follow-up meeting yesterday where they presented stats from the meeting, and they were great. Lots of attendance in the booths, lots of attendance at the InstructLab sessions. And then I think the best feedback from it was Community Day, actually. People were very, very, very pleased with the attendance of Community Day. They are actually saying this year is probably by far the best attended Community Day has been at Tech Exchange. And they're saying that is due to InstructLab. So that's pretty exciting. And then the InstructLab Community Day welcome was the second most attended keynote. So that's pretty exciting. So
Whoa.
great job to everyone who was there and helped out. I could go down the list. See Cedric, thank you for helping out there. Mark, Carol, Joe, JJ. I've seen anyone on the call.
Yeah.
I think Dominic, were you? No, Dominic wasn't there. But yeah, thank you to anyone. It was a
Yes.
great time, and you know, InstructLab was actually a huge hit at the event, so it's great to hear.
And thanks to Julia too for giving the keynote.
Yes, I guess while we're thanking people, thanks to Brad for that opportunity. He's not here.
Yeah.
And also,
Wonderful.
we got people to show up and try out InstructLab without giving away sweatshirts, which was
Exactly.
it was a revelation. I really thought they were there for the sweatshirts last time.
Oh,
Yeah, and
people
the
love
community
InstructLab.
day labs, like the feedback from those first day labs, Mark, was amazing.
Indeed. It
And
was,
very well attended.
yeah.
Oh, and worth pointing out to this group, what we did hands-on, where they came over and we had all the Macs set up and they got to run through it, was leveraging that Red Hat, sandbox that Grant had helped set up. So what was mentioned earlier today about, I forget what we call it, but the online hands-on environment that we've got that Cedric was talking about is just going to be really valuable, because that made it so much easier than whatever we would have done without it.
Indeed. Great job all around. Yeah. Grant's team with Cedric and Taylor, who wasn't at Tech Exchange, but she was helping behind the scenes to to deploy and run those demo setups. So cool stuff. Thanks, Julia, for sharing that. I wasn't able to attend that Tech Exchange wrap-up meeting. So
Of course. Yeah, I tried to find, they like presented in the meeting a document of stats, but they unfortunately didn't share it. So
okay. All right. Anything else before we wrap up? Okay, on that positive note, thanks everyone for joining today. Oh, wow, it's over 20 people now. I didn't even realize that. So thank you, and we'll see you in 1 week's time. But remember, tomorrow we will have the new documentation working group meeting. So maybe if you're interested, please join us. Take care and see you. And CLI meetings on Thursdays. All right.
I'll see you.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.